Welcome to the Ask Faleskini podcast with a guest. I'm proud to present Raven Elise, author, healer, life and business coach. Raven, please tell us more about yourself. What is your story?
Oh my gosh, what is my story? I feel like my story is filled with success and suffering, but I feel like that's the general theme to most people's stories, right? And I mean, I came from a single parent who was an entrepreneur herself, and I learned a lot about working with people and seeing how my mom was a hairstylist and she would have clients for like 30, 40 years that she would work with and establish beautiful relationships with. I was always really curious about business because we spend more of our time there at work on a majority than with anyone else in our lives. And oftentimes I found it to be not the most ideal environments to work in. And so, through my pursuit of becoming a yoga instructor, I became a studio owner. I used to lead trainings. So I dabbled in the realm of what makes a business successful, and then had been essentially denying my gifts and abilities my entire life. And they just kind of broke open and broke through back in 2017. And from that point, I sort of had a dark night of the soul and started exploring my psychic intuitive abilities. And then that rolled me into working with and creating group programs with clients that led me into launching a six-figure income business on top of having children. And so I've been kind of meandering through this like dynamic. And over the last couple years, I started writing a book called The Magnet Mode, which was really a manual on how to live life and attract and repel the things to live your best version. That's kind of me in a nutshell in the most briefest format.
Amazing. I have so many questions. so uh,
Fire away.
I will. I will. You're also a business coach, and you see a lot of
Mhm.
people coming for help or guidance to you, and how important is or how would you rate the advantage that you get if your parents are entrepreneurs in comparison if you have parents that are employees?
Mm, that's a good question. I think it just depends on the person. I truly believe that we're all entrepreneurs to our own degree. We're all leaders in our own regard. But we're not always taught that based off of the way that we were raised. So I think, that kind of gets a little murky into the whole storyline of people's belief systems of what they deem they're capable of and not capable of off of what they've learned and what they've been told and what they believe about themselves. So it can kind of go hand in hand, like it can be contradictory even for people to feel like they're not an entrepreneur because their father was and their mother was or their brother was. So that's that their siblings' role is to be the entrepreneur, so to say. Um, but I did hear somewhere, statistically speaking, the third born child is the one to have a higher likelihood of becoming an entrepreneur and becoming the most innovative visionary. They have a higher likelihood of being the visionaries on the planet.
Okay. When you say that everyone can or is entrepreneur to a degree, um, why our society does not perceive it like that? We are taught that entrepreneurs are a rare breed, and there are only few capable of being entrepreneurs. Why would you say that everyone is entrepreneur? Is Do you believe that everyone is capable of being entrepreneur, or that everyone is entrepreneur as they play their life? Um, or is there anything else that you think of when you say that everyone can be an entrepreneur?
I think when people think of the word entrepreneur, they think of like paving the way themselves and taking full responsibility for their income, for how they're generating money, and how they set up a business. But to me, everything is like a business. So even growing flowers and anything that you feel passionate about that you want to further explore and express yourself in, to me is an entrepreneurial act. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be a CEO of a company in order for you to be an entrepreneur in your own life. And I believe that that's the place of belief system that people feel um, afraid to put themselves out there, that they will fail. And also a lot of times people have this business idea or the thing that they want to step into, but they already have these plates spinning, i.e., family, children, a certain level of income that they have to make in order for them to survive. And it makes it very scary for them to actually like leap into that new idea, that new identity, that new thing, you know? There's a lot of like nurses and men and women that are in the corporate industry and they completely turn into like yogis and breathwork practitioners and life coaches and all of these things. So it's really to me it's like it's just a matter of how much confidence and courage you have to put yourself out there and grow and expand. And I think that a lot of people in general might feel more intimidated to do that. They would just like things to be easy. So they don't have, like, they want it to be comfortable because maybe they've experienced some form of suffering, some form of rejection in their past. That's the last thing that they want to encounter again. And so I think a lot of people maybe settle for relationships, for jobs, for lifestyles, for fear that it's going to get hard or life, or maybe from a religious belief system that you're being punished, you don't deserve fill in the blank, which I truly believe is not true. I think that it's much larger than that. And when we butt up against our own belief systems and we challenge them, and allow them to be wrong and open ourselves up to a new level of what feels right is where you step into that place of being an entrepreneur. You can call it a soulpreneur. I used to have a program called Soulpreneur Society, how to reclaim your path, purpose, and power. So I think that answered what you were asking me.
Yes, thank you. Um, you're also having a group programs. Would you say that group programs are more effective than individual programs? Why did you choose group programs? How you see that as a coach?
I think they're both effective and not as effective. It really just depends on the program that you create and the timing. I've found that every single time you have a program, there's like this really awesome, beautiful trajectory that you have set, but then life gets in the way and it can cause a lot of distraction for people to follow through and be consistent. And so I also think that it's a preference thing. Some people prefer to work in larger groups
Mhm.
as opposed to work in one-on-one groups. And I feel personally I like both. And I'm feeling more called to public speak because I want to get my message out there to more people. But I want to impact, I'd rather make a larger impact with one person that creates that ripple effect out in their reality and their world in a much grander scope because they've really stepped into their power. It's like giving 100 people 2% of their power as opposed to working with one person and then stepping into 98%, which is going to make a larger impact on the planet you know that's arguable, and it depends on like the change and the transformation that that person made. Maybe it's in their business, maybe they're working with their finances better, maybe they actually have better communication skills so they're not losing potential clients and employees. It's the gamut is large. so to say.
Okay. Another thing that intrigues me, you already mentioned your book about uh, the attraction mode, and how to attract, and how to it's called reject, or push things aside. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
The book.
Yes.
Yeah, I love talking about it. I mean, it's the epitome of my life. Like, I've always had a stronger relationship with the non-physical realm than I have with the physical realm. And the things that I've thought and that I felt, and the components that my intuition has led me to and shown me have verified through situations that there is a relationship happening between myself and the non-physical quantum mechanical world. And this is not something that is just for me. This is actually I was just on a call with a client right before our session, and it actually came through in his reading how much we as a individual, we don't really feel like we're that important, that like God or whatever religion you believe in or the universe is like truly paying attention to your little own tiny little life on this planet with billions of people, which is not the case. It's actually, you're so extremely important, and the universe is so paying attention to you. Everything that you're doing, saying, thinking, feeling, acting from the past and generating in the present projects you into your future. And so this book was channeled through me. I feel like my entire life led me to it. And I had this juncture um, where my husband and I were separated and we were trying to figure out what we were wanting to do. And I had this epiphany while we were separated that I started to ask myself what it is that I wanted. What was it that was going to bring me joy, not what was going to make the marriage stay and work. And as soon as that happened, everything sort of activated and opened up. And I was like, I have a mathematical equation to manifesting. I have a new word that I'm teaching people about because it's led me on this mad scientist journey for the last 3 years, but has been insanely validating and correlating to all of my life experiences that have happened to me in the past that led me up to this point. And so this book is like a manual for living life to the best version. And it's like a framework to show you why all the things are happening and how you can manifest with the your own body, your own sense of self, and how to do that with ease and with grace. Because my theory is that a lot of people have lost like the gusto to live. Like, and what I mean by that is I don't know too many people that are excited about life. I ask people like on in general, and you can ask yourself, whoever's watching this, you know, on average, what percentage would you say you're content throughout your day? And what percentage would you say you're content throughout your week, throughout your month, and throughout your year? And oftentimes that's a very low percentage. And when we can shift ourselves into a state of excitement about what's to come, everything changes. And that's to me like what manifesting is. Somebody asked me on Facebook, like, what's the most surprising thing you've manifested? And I think it's everything because when something comes into physical form, it's like a present that you knew was going to arrive, but you didn't know when it was going to get to you. And when we stay in that state, we allow ourselves to be more present and have more fun day in and day out through the process of getting to where we want to go. And we believe in it more. So, yeah, this book is about teaching how magnetic we truly are. Everything about us is magnetic. We think and feel magnetically. We have positive thoughts, and neutral thoughts. We have positive emotions, negative emotions, and neutral emotions, just like a battery, just like the atoms that make up our entire body, protons, neutrons, and electrons, positive, negative, and neutral. And if we can whittle ourselves down into this understanding that life is interacting with us and we're experiencing positive, perceived positive, negative, and neutral experiences, then we can move the levee in a more playful, less victimized way.
Okay. How important, you already touched on that, but how important is that we assume the role of the creator, not of the victim, in our everyday life?
It's huge. It's vital. I think that being a victim is an epidemic in our human population. We are either victimizing someone or we're perceiving ourselves as victims of the circumstance. And when you do that, you step into a place of disempowerment. But if we shift ourselves into the position of what am I learning from the situation that I can create a healthy boundary around, I can step further away from faster, not get involved in a circumstance like that causes me years and years of, heartache and destruction, be it a business partnership, romantic relationship, even family members, you know? That is when you really like you and I also believe that there's a direct correlation between your belief and your trust within your higher power, whatever you want to call it, and your belief and your trust in yourself. I think that they are parallels and they're matching. So
Mhm.
when you don't trust yourself, you don't trust your own actions, you're not going to trust that something outside of you sure as hell is going to help you. It just is symbiotic in that way. So when we start to shift back into what I call being neutral and stepping into a deeper level of awareness, like that, we call it in yoga, the observer, we can start to take our power back in any situation, regardless of, and I'm not saying I'm not people have been truly victimized, through war and through physical violence, through sexual abuse. And in no way, shape, or form am I discrediting that. And I'm definitely, somebody that's experienced some of that as well. Um, but I think anyone that's watching this would agree it feels much better to feel in power and overcoming something than staying in a story that you've been victimized by. That doesn't generate more power and it doesn't generate more confidence for you to be the entrepreneur. If you want to open that flower shop, or if you want to get into finance, if you want to fill in the blank, it's these sort of I'm a victim of my situation. Someone outside of me knows better. Someone outside of me is smarter. Someone outside of me is more equipped. Why not you? Why not you?
Okay, these are great insights. You're also a healer. How do you hinted at some things with your with explaining about your book, but how do you use your healing abilities when coaching or when helping clients?
So I have I highly respect and I have a high regard for all of religion. I believe that there's a reason for all of them out there, and they are activators for people to step into themselves, um, and hopefully grow from. And so shamanism is one of the frameworks in which I use to go into what's called journey space. And I'll do readings for people. I also have my own oracle deck specifically pertaining to the magnet mode that I've been doing sessions for. It's basically just like it's just a way, a framework to plug yourself in and receive information from the non-physical realm. And
Okay,
so shamanism go ahead.
I have a challenge for you. We had a tarot reader.
Oh, challenge me.
We had a tarot reader recently on the show, and she checked uh, the energies or the energies around our podcast. Would you be willing just to check a bit about our podcast? Uh, what's the information that you can download?
Oh, you want me to look into your podcast?
Yeah, just for just for listeners and viewers to see how it works
Mm,
and what kind of info you can get for let's say a business. If it's okay with you.
well, I don't know if we have enough time, but essentially, like what I would do is we would set an intention and then I would put this mask on and I hold a clear quartz crystal. And then any information that comes through, I basically channel through. And I'm very like the way that I communicate, even my book is trying to get to the Occam's razor, like the simplest solution, the simplest way to communicate and translate that information. And everything is just frequency. It's all vibration. And so are words. So is my voice. Everything that you're viewing where you can see me, it's just light. It's just electricity. And so it really just depends on like I mean, I can give you examples. I don't know how much time we have. I'll give you a couple examples. I did a session for one client where her grandmother came through and her grandmother told me that she was connected to uh the royal family.
Mhm,
And I said, "Do you know this?" And she goes, "No." I said, "Well, ask your mom because they're telling me like you're connected to them." So the next day she texted her mom and she said, Were was grandma really into the royal family?" She goes, "Yeah, apparently, according to our family tree, we're part of their lineage." I've had multiple clients that I've described their next relationship, like what the person looks like and feels like,
mhm,
to a T. Um, but also plants and animals can come through as symbolism. Like, so as an example, I just was doing a session right before this call, and I said, I'm like, were you into watching Grease Lightning or Grease or something like that? And he goes, I've never seen it, but well, we were just talking about it a couple days ago. And this is what I meant, that a lot of people don't really feel like anything is around and paying attention, but that came through to validate that they have guides and the guides are paying attention and they're listening to your conversation. They're
mhm.
here, they're around. So, if I were to do a session for you, we would want to go in and set the intention of like, well, what is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to accomplish? And what does that end result actually look like? And what I think what would be actually fun is if we did one specifically for this. Um, because I could go in deep. It's not like fast. It would be information that would want to come through. So if you wanted to set me up again, and it's specifically just doing a reading for your podcast, for your listeners, the information that's coming through, all of that, um, I can do that. I can, let's see. I mean, I'm already getting some stuff. I don't know how vulnerable you want to get on your podcast.
Just shoot,
You know,
shoot,
what's that?
just shoot. Don't,
Just
don't take,
shoot. Here's
don't
stuff.
take any hostages.
You're no hostages. Okay. Um, how about this? I'll pull cards for you. I'll do a reading for you.
That would be great.
And
So
so
that
this is yeah. I'm happy to do an actual reading for you at another time. Not afraid. I've actually done this. I've gone live on my Facebook page with clients before. Um, and I've done actually collective readings for people. So this is a deck that I created. They're just words, oops,
uh-huh.
on cardstock because I am in the process of creating this book. Hold on, I hit a button. Okay. This deck. So I'm actually spending the weekend formulating all of the descriptions. So what do you want to know about your business?
It's
I'm getting
about
an
podcast.
interesting,
Will this develop into business out of it? It's a hobby now for the third year. Is there any chance this will develop?
it's a hobby for you?
Yes.
Okay. It's interesting because when we started talking, I got this like I couldn't hear in my right ear, and then I heard a like a ringing.
Mhm.
Um, I know like the mystical and the magical definitely intrigues you. You would not necessarily consider yourself an intuitive person. And but yet there's this like clairaudience that's coming through for you. Like I don't know if you know what clairaudience is, but it's the ability to hear.
Mhm.
And I feel like that sort of was trying to get its message across, like listening skills for you. Like reading between the lines of what people are saying as well. Um, and also getting guidance. I feel like you have a grandmother. You have a strong relationship with your grandmother that's passed away?
No, I didn't know any of my grandmothers.
Hmm. Getting some grandmother energy for you. Okay. So this is your podcast reading. I love how you're like throwing me off guard here. So good. So these are pertaining this deck is specifically pertaining to um manifesting.
Mhm.
And so each one of the cards is built in, like I have terms of engagement. Yeah. Which are the terms that each human on the planet um is dealing with. And so, okay. So there is a level of confidence for you. This is the solar plexus. Are you familiar with the solar plexus?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so you're familiar with what that chakra means?
Yeah, stability. Um, it's usually orange, painted orange.
Yellow,
Yellow.
solar, stomach, action, confidence. Your stomach is that chakra holds more organs than any of the other chakras in the system. There's the whole concept that your stomach holds its own brain,
Mhm.
um, and it communicates with the brain of the heart, the brain of the head. And so it's almost like this place of like you believing in what you can achieve with this podcast. It's like because the thing that came in was the third eye at the end, which is the vision, visionary insights, as well as lies and illusions are held in this part of us. And so in between those cards, I got birth and death,
Mhm.
and I got the water card, the water element. Um, and then ultimately, this is about expansion and contraction, and then time and timelessness. So if this is your hobby, you're like only doing this on the side, and it's something that is for fun for you. But it feels like this birth and death piece for you, like you gave birth to this podcast. it's something that means a lot to you.
Yep.
And um, it's your baby. It's your little baby. Um, the water element, when we think of the water, we think of emotion, we think of intuition, we think the sky to the stars sort of concept.
Mhm.
And also, water has everything to do, like in terms of manifesting. If you have a really cool idea, but you don't believe that you can accomplish it, then oftentimes that thing that you kind of want to manifest isn't going to happen. So that's where like the concept of like the vision in the third eye of you spending time visualizing where you actually want this to go. Because if you think about it, like it's beautiful that you manifested this in the first place. It came from a really cool idea and you were inspired to do it. It came from a very heart-centered place. And you feel really strongly about it, like you have a passion for it. The question is like how far, how much action, how much do you want to expand? Because this is where that concept of like the entrepreneur comes into play for you.
Mhm.
Of like you've stepped into this entrepreneurial role, and but there are things that you could be doing that could it could expand your reach, right? There's like systematic stuff that you can actually shift that would step you into larger exposure. I'm not sure if you've been looking at like algorithms or putting out like promotions for yourself on your page, like on social media platforms. That seems to be something that's coming through. But in order for you to expand and not contract. It's almost like you kind of go back and forth sometimes with like believing you can do this. And then you kind of contract and you go into like a shell and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I doing this? Sort of thing. And that comes into the storyline of like your element of water, like what you believe about yourself, how much confidence you have, how much self-esteem you have, how much courage you have to put yourself out there. Because time is of the essence. And I feel like you're really meticulous about getting stuff done. You're organized, you're structured, um, and also um, what's coming through on that? Yeah, there's just this hesitation to put more of your time and your energy into it. Um, because there's this fear, right, of the water, that water element. Will it succeed? Will it not succeed? Hitting that marker of like becoming popular. And almost like just it's this part for you of questioning, like it's questioning yourself. It's questioning yourself. And there's things that like you could put time into that you could better educate on becoming a better uh like the whole intro outro um as well as have you created a business plan for this?
No.
Okay, that's what that's coming through. You haven't actually looked at the numbers. So that's what they're telling me is you've got to look at the time frame. Like, so if you map out mathematically, like, okay, I need this many podcasts, this many views, this many that to hit this piece, then you can break down the time of, okay, I need to do this and do that and do this and do that in order for me to accomplish this. Because it seems too like daunting and overwhelming because you haven't broken the numbers down. So once you break the numbers down, then you can see the hitting these certain markers of, I've hit so many guests, I've had so many podcast views, and you can start to get yourself more excited. And again, like I said, excited about the change, and less discouraged about the growth and the time in which it takes to grow.
Okay. Thank you. Uh, it's quite an experience because a lot of things are completely different than what I anticipated. So, but I think that's also the
Setting up a podcast?
excuse me.
Are you setting up a podcast?
Uh, yeah, especially as far as business plan, I didn't write the business plan, but I'm a numbers person, so I have all the numbers down, and I know about shadow bands and all this stuff. So there's a bit of the luck that needs to be involved, and that is why I'm just persevering, and maybe in the future things will develop. Right now, I don't see an opportunity here. I'll be frank, and that is why I'm excited because I meet so many people, and a lot of listeners write to me and uh, congratulates me. We have mostly positive feedbacks, almost no negative feedbacks, and that is why I'm still doing it. But uh, I see a person, maybe that's this grandmother figure that you mentioned, that needs to step in and uh, do something. That is how I see it.
Hmm. Well, if you don't see a future, then that's what you'll get.
I see a future. I just I can't see. So I, I can't see now. Maybe things will develop in the future. I don't. That is why I persevere. I see that there's an opportunity, but it's not present right now. I'll say like that.
I think what's coming through is just really trusting in why you actually set it up in the first place
Yeah.
and becoming better yourself in hosting and asking questions and putting yourself out there, because at the end of the day, you're changing. That's the change. That's the transformation that's occurring. And by you changing and transforming, you're calling in different people to you. You're asking different questions, which is causing more like results and change and transformation for your audience members.
I agree 100% with that, and that is also one of the reasons that I'm after 3 years I'm still doing it, and I'm excited. I'm excited for every guest and every insight, and um, especially for me is um, it's just exploring how many different people do things differently, and they're all successful, and that is astonishing for me, and that is why I love it so much. So that is why I'm so invested in it, and I try to do one a week, but I don't see it as a business yet. I understand the potential, but without certain outside person, I don't see I don't see it right now. My intuition says that
Certain outside person.
yeah.
Okay. Well, we can talk about this off air if you want, but those are the things that I talk about in the book. Like when we believe something, then it turns into that thing.
Okay.
So whatever it is, it's like making you believe you're never going to hit this point of success. You don't know what like it's that almost like I'm a victim to the shadow banning. I'm a victim to, but you know what? If there's a will, there's a way. And it's amazing how this is one thing that I would suggest for everybody and for you especially is to constantly work for finding the highest outcome for the greatest good of all. What is the highest outcome? What's the highest and greatest outcome for myself and for the greatest good of all? And if you act in that way, you will always be protected. Things may not always come out like successfully, but it's insane how we have a plan for things and then spontaneous, organized chaos sort of ensues. And we have these setbacks that life presents to us, but yet these setbacks hold opportunities for us to grow from as well. And we think, oh, this thing happened. This is the reason why I shouldn't do A, B, and C. But really, it might be redirecting you or taking you down a path that's a little bit easier and more graceful as a result. So it's like it's our belief systems. What we believe we deserve, the universe will serve. That's one of my favorite quotes. And it's true.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So,
So you're a great host. I'm enjoying this conversation.
thank you. Before we
Yeah.
conclude, is there any trick of the trade or an inside secret that you can share with our audience?
An inside secret that you are manifesting absolutely every day and everything is a co-creation with you. So I actually posted on my TikTok yesterday. There's nowhere to go and nothing to do except what is right in front of you. We get so bombarded with all the tasks that we have to do. We get overly stressed. And so like 2% of us is actually present to the thing at hand. But if we can practice being fully present with everything right in front of us, all the things will actually get done in the perfect amount of time and in the most efficient way. You just give all of yourself to the present, and the present is it's the magical place. It's the place where your imagination can actually bend, reality and start to turn direction towards different outcomes. Because when we have a built up belief system from our past that holds a positive and negative, like condensed, you know, magnetism to it. And so when we are present, we can become aware of maybe the stories and the belief systems, the inner critic that are super negative that we're not even familiar with, that we can kind of nip in the bud. And even if you start to chisel away at 2% of that every single day, you're going to start to change your perspective from something that's negative into something that's more positive. And this is like math, and it's also in my book, two negatives don't make a positive. And that's the same for manifesting. If you're like, this sucks, this isn't going to happen, I hate this, I hate life. It's not going to be like, oh, look, someone just delivered 6 dozen roses for you and you've got free dinner at the most expensive restaurant because like that just doesn't happen. The things that like come to you are because you are positively open to receiving them. So when you stay present to what's right in front of you, then you can start to chisel away at creating more magnetic attraction inside of you. You can be the magnet. So I say, think like light, feel like energy, move like a magnet, because our thoughts are light. And all that we feel in terms of our emotions, it's just energy. So if you could step out of your emotions and look at them logically, then you can change them neutrally. You can let go of judging, feeling bad, or judging, feeling insecure, or thinking that it's not right for you to feel a certain way. You can allow yourself to let it be alive inside of you. And once you do that, then you can direct that flame. You can tame the flame and redirect it into a passion instead of release it out in an anger, you know, that creates destruction in some way where you could have created with it in another. That's what I would say. It's my tiny little 2 cents.
Thank you for all the inputs. Raven, please share with us where can our listeners and viewers reach you?
So currently my website is yogiraven.com, but I am in the process of changing it to itsjustraven.com. I have my hands in so many pots and I've done so many things, and the scope of interest and share I have is so wide. I don't like labels. I think it's silly. It doesn't make me a better person because I'm a doctor and I have a certain education. At the end of the day, we're all humans. So my website is itsjustraven.com.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Raven, for being my guest tonight.
Thank you. It was such an honor and I appreciate the invitation.